In April 2025, the world watched as South Asia edged closer to the brink of disaster. On April 22nd, a brutal terrorist attack in India-administered Kashmir left 26 people dead, 25 Indians and one Nepali tourist. This was not just another skirmish in the long-standing Kashmir conflict. It was an act designed to provoke, to escalate, and it worked. The attackers, numbering 5 or 6, ambushed civilians in the Bizaran meadow in Pahalgam. Survivors later described how the militants approached the tourists, asked them their religion, and then demanded they recite Islamic verses. Those who failed were shot on the spot. For 10 harrowing minutes, the attack unfolded. A calculated massacre. The public outrage in India was immediate. This was no longer a fight against militants or security forces. This was an attack on innocent civilians, an escalation that would forever change the region. India immediately blamed Pakistan for the assault, accusing it of sponsoring terrorism in Kashmir, as it has done in the past. Pakistan, as always, denied involvement. The government called for a neutral investigation, but was met with little sympathy from India. Instead, India responded with fury. Prime Minister Narendra Modi vowed to hunt down the attackers, declaring that those responsible would be punished beyond their imagination. But for many in India, this was not enough. The call for military retaliation grew louder, with public figures demanding action against Pakistan, whose government they saw as complicit in the violence. In response, Pakistan warned that any attempt by India to disrupt the flow of water from the Indus River would be considered an act of war. This was a direct challenge to India's suspension of the Indus Waters Treaty, a crucial agreement signed in 1960 that regulates the sharing of water from the Indus River and its tributaries. By downgrading diplomatic relations and closing key border crossings, India made its stance clear. It would not sit idly by while Pakistan allegedly harbored terrorists targeting Indian soil. Yet the situation is far more complex. The suspension of the treaty, while symbolic, has real-world consequences. Pakistan depends on the waters that flow from India-administered Kashmir, and any disruption could lead to a humanitarian crisis. Experts have warned that, with unusually low rainfall this year, India's actions could trigger a catastrophic drought in Pakistan. This would not only affect millions of lives, but could also send the region spiraling into further instability. Both countries are already locked in an arms race, with India having more nuclear warheads than Pakistan for the first time in over 2 decades. Despite the military buildup, both sides know that an all-out war would be catastrophic. The memories of the 1999 Kargil War are still fresh, and the region has never truly recovered from the bitter legacy of the 1947 partition. Pakistan's military, meanwhile, stands resolute, backed by China and other international powers. Any military action by India would be met with retaliation. The question, however, is not whether retaliation will happen, but how far both sides are willing to go. The risk of nuclear escalation, even if small, looms large over any military strike. The pressure on both governments is immense. For India, the urge for revenge is strong, but so is the knowledge that war will destroy decades of progress. Pakistan, too, faces internal pressure. Its military has long been seen as a rogue entity with unchecked power, particularly in matters related to Kashmir. It uses the Kashmir issue to maintain its grip on power, and any compromise on the issue would undermine its authority. Diplomatically, the United States has expressed support for India, condemning the attack but urging both nations to find a responsible solution. Yet Washington's support for India is not absolute. Its growing ties with India are largely driven by the desire to counter China's influence in Asia, while Pakistan's strategic importance has waned, especially after the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021. Washington's role, though influential, is limited. Despite the U.S. pushing for restraint, it remains largely hands-off, leaving India and Pakistan to navigate the crisis on their own. In the streets of India and Pakistan, fear grips the citizens. The possibility of war has never seemed closer. In border towns, citizens are preparing for the worst. Indian families are cleaning out community bunkers, stocking up on supplies. Pakistanis, too, are bracing for a conflict that could ravage their homes, their farms, their cities. The effects of war would be felt long after the fighting stops. Back in Kashmir, the situation remains tense. Indian security forces continue their search for militants in the region, raiding hundreds of homes and arresting suspects. The military's response has been swift, but it has also drawn criticism for targeting civilians in the process. Pakistan's military, in turn, remains on high alert. It has mobilized forces along the border, preparing for any Indian provocation. The international community watches, with many calling for calm. China has urged restraint, fearing that any escalation could destabilize the region. The U.S., while supporting India, has warned that an unchecked escalation could have disastrous consequences for global stability. Despite these calls, both countries seem trapped in a cycle of escalation that seems impossible to break. This conflict is not just about India and Pakistan. It is about the future of Kashmir, the future of South Asia, and the future of global peace.